Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our basic macro or VBA tutorial series. In the previous video, we introduced the basic concepts of variables, parameters, and subroutine calls which can work in VBA of MS Office. Today, in part 2, we will continue to discuss two important concepts, the AND operator and the line break character. These are fundamental concepts in VBA and are very useful for manipulating strings and creating dynamic messages. We will also present an example that integrates all of the concepts we have learned so far. Let's get started. Section 1. Join text. In VBA, the AND operator is used for string concatenation, which means joining two or more strings together. As you may know, Excel provides several functions to join text, such as concatenate and concat. This can be particularly useful when you're dealing with data in different cells that you want to combine. Consider a scenario where you have a list of first names in column A and last names in column B. By typing equals concatenate A3 space B3 in cell D3, you can merge Wonder from cell A3 and Woman from cell B3 to form Wonder Woman in cell D3. For those using newer versions of Excel, the concat function provides a more powerful and flexible alternative. In Excel, you can also use the AND operator to join text. Just type equals A3 and space and B3 in a cell, the result will be the same as using the concatenate function. A very similar way of using the AND operator can be applied in VBA. For example, this subroutine can display a message box using concatenated variables. In this macro, first name, last name, and full name are variables. The AND operator joins the first name, a space character, and the last name together to form the full name. When you run this subroutine, it will display a message box with passerby1. Section 2. Line break character. The previous example demonstrated how to display text in a single line. But what if we want to display text across multiple lines? This is where the line break character comes into play. It can be used to insert a new line between two strings or at the end of a string. This helps in separating and organizing different pieces of information. Additionally, it's used at the end of a string when working with multiple lines of output, ensuring that subsequent output starts on a new line for improved readability. For instance, it can be used to display a list of items, a paragraph of text, or a table of data in a more organized and readable format. In VBA, there are two built-in constants that are used to insert a new line, VBCRLF and VBNewLine. VBCRLF stands for Visual Basic Carriage Return Line Feed. It represents a new line character, or a carriage return line feed combination. VBNewLine stands for Visual Basic New Line. It represents a platform-specific new line character. It contains whatever the codes are needed to generate a new line on the current platform. However, it is said to be deprecated in Visual Basic, so its use in VBA might also be phased out in the future. In most cases, both VBCRLF and VBNewLine can be used to insert a new line in a string. However, they are not interchangeable in all cases. VBNewLine is more flexible if you're writing code that will be run on multiple platforms. But due to its deprecated status in Visual Basic, we will normally use VBCRLF in our VBA. Of course, if one doesn't work, you can switch to the other. Here's an example of using VBCRLF to display a message box with two lines of text. In this macro, full name and message A are variables. The AND operator joins the word welcome, the line break character, and the full name together to form message A. When you run this code, it will display a message box with welcome on the first line and passerby1 on the second line. Section 3. Combo. In this section, we'll review the concepts we've covered in this and the previous video, and see how they can be combined in a more complex example. This example has two subroutines that use variables, parameters, arguments, concatenation, and line break. It is similar to the example we discussed before, but with some modifications. Let's examine the code and the concepts in detail. Variables are containers that store values or data. They have names and data types. In the HWMSGSend subroutine, suffix is a variable that is initialized with the string combo. In the HWMSG, receive subroutine, message combined is a variable that is used to store the combined message. Subroutines in VBA are blocks of code that perform specific tasks. They are defined using the sub keyword and are called using the call keyword. HWMSG send and HWMSG receive are both subroutines and are user-defined. On the other hand, MSGBox is a built-in subroutine which can also be used as a function. In the above example, the HWMSG send subroutine calls the HWMSG receive subroutine, which in turn calls the MSGBox subroutine. Another concept used here is parameters and arguments. When you define a subroutine, the variables that it accepts are called parameters. When you call a subroutine, the values that you pass in are called arguments. In the HWMSG send subroutine, greetings, hello world, and suffix are three arguments that are passed to the HWMSG receive subroutine. In the HWMSG receive subroutine, message1, message2a, and message2b are three parameters that receive the values from the arguments. Concatenation and line breaks are also used here. In the HWMSG, receive subroutine, message1, message2a, and message2b are concatenated using the AND operator. A line break between message1 and message2a is inserted using the VBCRLF constant. When you run the HWMSG send subroutine, it calls the HWMSG receive subroutine with the arguments greetings, hello world, and combo. The HWMSG receive subroutine then combines these messages, inserting a line break between greetings and hello world combo, and displays the combined message in a message box. That's it for part 2 of our general VBA tutorial series. In this episode, we've learned about the AND operator, the line break character, and reviewed the concepts we've learned before. You can find more information in the video description. You may try to experiment by modifying these subroutines or writing your own codes. The demo files are available on our Patreon site. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more tutorials in this series. Thank you for watching and see you next time.